Welcome to the Pro Aging Podcast. I'm Steve Gurney, founder of the Positive Aging Community. We're excited that you can join us for our interactive discussions with pioneers and thought leaders on a wide variety of topics related to aging and longevity. Today we have a conversation with Joy Loverde, who has a reputation for being a path carver and visionary. Joy is the author of Who Will Take Care of Me When I'm Old and the Complete Eldercare Planner, which the American Medical Association says it's the best book we've ever seen. So let's jump into another engaging discussion on solo aging with my co-host, Carol Merrick, author of Solo and Smart, and Joy Loverde. Okay, hit the record button so everybody, you can click that prompt. And then, all right, to kick off our discussion this week, on solo aging, I want to share a couple of slides and then we'll bring Joy to the stage. So first off, before I started doing these online discussions, I never heard the term solo ager. And it was, people were, they were using it to describe themselves. So they would be in chat saying, I'm a solo ager, this and that. And that's how Carol and I connected, because I was sort of like, I went on Google and I typed in solo aging and Carol, your name popped up. So I was like, well, here's an authority on solo aging. I want to link up with Carol and host some of these discussions. And but the term that I had heard was elder orphan, and that was always such a depressing term. And whenever I mentioned it to people, they would just be like, "Oh, that is a horrible term. It's just so sad," And so I think, prior to some of these great discussions we've been doing, my vision of solo aging and elder orphan might be sort of like the picture that you see on the screen there now. But after hosting several discussions with you, Carol, and talking about this in detail, what I realize is that solo aging is a badge that people wear proudly, like the way that you just described yourself as a solo ager. And the other side of the coin is that when you see a lovely couple here, you might say, well, they're not solo agers. They've got each other, and maybe they have 2 or 3 kids or what have you. So they'll never have to worry about solo aging. And one of the things that we've discovered in these discussions is that we all have to worry about solo aging, that we need a plan on what our life would be like if we outlive our spouse, if our kids move away and aren't there in a supportive role. And that's one of the themes that has really come out of these discussions that I think is really exciting. This is a topic that everybody needs to at least give some thought to. So that's sort of my warm up there. Let me now welcome to the stage someone who really needs no introduction, because Joy, you have been viewed as a leader and an expert in the senior living field for many years. You're the author, Joy is the author of the Complete Eldercare Planner, but her most recent book is Who Will Take Care of Me When I'm Old, which is a very fitting title for a discussion on solo aging. So Carol and I are gonna monitor questions, because I know you love interactive discussions, and we'll try to feed you questions as they come in. But before we dive into our discussion, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been doing this since 1985. The first edition of my book came out, and I headed for corporate America. So for the first 30 years of my career, I was in employee benefits programs going all over the country talking to employees. And then for the most part, I was hired by senior living sponsors, and then did my past 20 years running around and helping people understand the value of living in the community lifestyle. But about 10 years ago, something very interesting happened. When I was doing talks about caregiving, what would happen is that people would come up to me and they'd say, well, I'm doing this for my parents. I'm taking care of my parents. But who's going to take care of me when I'm old? And boom, I knew right away that would be my next book. So now we have come full circle. We are not only taking care of loved ones, including spouses and siblings, but many of us are simultaneously taking care of parents and siblings and children. So all the caregivers got older. And that's been the story of my entire career. I've stayed focused on family caregiving and aging with other people in mind. So 2 books, full circle, here we are.
I love it. All right.
And I have to say, well, I just want to say I've known Joy for, gosh, Joy, you haven't known me that long. Well, anyway, I met you via online when I was a family caregiver and found your book. Because I was struggling, my sisters and I were struggling with all the things we had to do. So thank you for that wonderful book.
You're welcome. It's been so fun. And it's constantly evolving. And here we are together, Carol.
I know. It's great.
This is great. And so we all brainstormed before this discussion, because as those of you who have tuned into these discussions, we like to feature authors because they're really thought leaders, and they've articulated higher concepts and ideas and what have you. And so when we were talking with Joy, we were talking about how could we approach this, and I think we came up with a brilliant idea. So like everything I do, it's an experiment, and we're going to see if it works. But what we did was I went through the table of contents on Joy's book, and it's organized beautifully. And she breaks the book down into these 5 parts, okay? And so what I've done is I've done a slide for each of those 5 parts. And so what we thought would be a great idea is for us to just kind of walk through the book and have Joy just sort of pull out some important topics and ideas, and then we want to riff with you, the audience, on these topics and ideas. And if you're the way the audience usually is, we might not make it to part 5, okay? But let's give this the old college try. And Carol, you keep your eyes and ears on Q&A and chat, as I will. And if you see something in there that strikes your fancy, just jump in and we'll get this discussion started. But Joy, before we dive into part 1, maybe just share with us just how you organize the book into these 5 parts.
Well, first of all, we could talk about aging till we're blue in the face, but unless we're ready for it, we have to come to terms with what that means. What in the world are we really planning for? So personal readiness says, am I really ready to take this on? And then the rest is just in personal readiness is also the money card. So we have to think about personal readiness as well as financial readiness for a
okay. Here, let's just jump. I'm just going to
let's go.
Let's just jump in. Okay.
Okay, good.
So we got personal readiness, and folks just in the audience, what you can see is all the different chapters in that part. But Joy, give us some things to think about, and then folks just jump in with your questions and comments.
Okay, so what I did was when Steve said, what should we talk about for each chapter? I took out the one that I thought would be the most interesting and the one that we hardly ever hear when people engage in this conversation. So I want to have a conversation about critical thinking. Now, why do I think that critical thinking is really important? Because there's way too much emphasis on resilience. Now, resilience is great. There's a lot of workshops on how to become a resilient person. However, resilience is reactive. It's what to do when something bad happens. But what if we could think like a strategist, which is on page 27 on on the slide there, what if we could actually avoid a whole slew of problems through critical thinking? Now, like you may not know what critical thinking is. I didn't know, but I thought it was important to put in the book. So critical thinking is something we all need to learn. And that was why I wanted to bring that up in this first chapter. The readiness for, let's just avoid the reactive resilience and dive right into, let's be proactive and learn about critical thinking.
I think that's fabulous, Joy, because what I found myself doing after helping mom and dad is I realized I'm going to be aging alone. And I thought, I'm going to have to really start thinking about these things critically and to start assessing where I am in each life domain. So I totally agree with that. That's wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah, and Joe Sperling says that he goes, do this planning while you can before the need for care happens, and feel great about it. I mean, I think what's interesting is probably everybody in the audience, I know we've got such a smart, established audience that everybody has risen to their professions or they're skilled in something, and they've applied critical thinking to that. But then when it comes to this, it's oftentimes they're lost, or they just want to ignore it because in the hopes that it's never going to happen. But Risa Mandel says, please define critical thinking as you understand it, and thanks in advance.
Okay, I love this. This is something I didn't know. I did a lot of research. Critical thinking is the ability to ask different people, anybody who is not the same as you, people young, people old, people in different cultures, people in different professions. So come up with a question that is important to you, like, where should I live? And then go around and ask people, what would you do if you were in my situation? How would you go about doing this? And you will get so many different kinds of points of views on how to, let's say, figure out where we want to live in old age, right? I even have my 9-year-old granddaughter on my list of questions to ask. And she comes up with the most brilliant things. So critical thinking is the ability to get out of your comfort zone and go and ask questions, write them all down, and begin to look for different patterns and different things that are doable. The more we get input from people who are unlike ourselves, different cultures, people who are rich, people who are not rich, all these different kinds of people, and begin to do your research on what's possible. The best critical thinking I've ever done is talking to people 30 years older than me and asking them, what do you wish you had done differently? Or what did you do right? What do you wish you didn't do? This is critical thinking, and there's lots of books on it, but I wanted to apply it to my own personal aging process. And so far it's proven to be just the thing I needed. I wasn't interested in wanting to be resilient as much as I wanted to know how could I avoid getting myself in a tough situation.
That's fabulous.
That is, I think that's one of the best definitions I've heard. And Susan Evans just chimed in and she said, your audience is a critical thinking group. Isn't that why we're here? And
yes,
you are dead on, Susan. And and here's the thing that I always say. We're kind of preaching to the choir in this audience. Just attending an event like this defines critical thinking in the way that Joy just laid it out. What we need to do is encourage our friends, families, clients, and loved ones to join us. And that's one of the best things that I love about this being recorded is that you can basically say, hey, I just participated in a discussion on solo aging. I think you should take a peek at it, and hopefully we can get more people joining our tribe. So really good. Well,
absolutely. Yeah, I just wanted to point out that Melissa Bressler, who's with Handy Pro, she says, I mean, this is really right on. It kind of sums up what Joy is saying, is that planning ahead is the key to unlocking the door on aging well. And I have to agree, and I'm sure Joy would too.
Yeah, great comment, Melissa. And let's see, Joe Sperling says making decisions in a panic is usually not good, or usually not good ones. Stress and pressure is not conducive to the best decisions.
Yep. So Joe, what I say is there is no planning in a crisis.
Amen.
There isn't any.
And as a caregiver, I can vouch that happens all the time.
You get what you get.
That's right.
That's not a plan.
No.
Yeah. So Joy, I'm gonna advance the slide to part 2, so we can try to get through the whole book. But before I do that, I want to share like our last solo aging discussion, which I'm going to post the link to. It was the theme dove into making friends and creating a circle around you. And Rita says, how can I network and meet other people my own age and other ages so I might create my own circle who can help me or help us as resources? I'm not sure if that's in this part, but I wanted to throw that one out right now.
Absolutely. Go to part 3. We'll go back to part 2. Part 2 is okay. Part 3.
Let's do that. Okay.
Here we go. So I hear this question all the time. How can I make friends? How can I create some kind of support? I love that question. However, there is a better question to ask. First of all, there is no shortage of places to meet people. Men and women and men, we don't have to just define our friends to the same sex. We can have, interchangeable friends, because I have a lot of male friends who would be there for me at 2 a.m. and vice versa. So it is mixed up there. But the question nobody seems to ask themselves is, what kind of friend am I? We can't just be a bunch of solo agers looking out to the horizon and saying to ourselves, who can I make friends with? We've got to Carol, you said it best when we had the workshop last time. It takes time. And what happens is we test our friendships. We go first. If we say to someone, I'll be there for you, and then we're not, then what kind of friend are we? In the process of being a friend, you will start to cement your friendships by being there for each other over and beyond what you think you need to do. There are people everywhere. My book and Carol's book and every book, Sarah Geffert's book, we all talk about where to meet people. That's not the problem. The problem is what kind of friend am I? How come, so I hear people say to me, how come all my friends disappear as soon as I get sick? Well, what kind of friend are you? Are you constantly leaning on these people? Is it your expectation that they would be there to take care of you? I heard the most incredible interview 2 days ago. It was about friends going to therapy. I think that's a really good idea. If we have friends and we don't know how to cement that glue and we're afraid of losing our friends, we should go to therapy just like we might if we were with another important relationship. We cannot treat our friends any differently than family members.
Man,
absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, I agree.
Great thoughts. And I'll make sure to drop in the link into chat to the previous discussion we did, because we pretty much talked about ideas and things like this for an hour. But Joy, your suggestion was not something that came up in that discussion. So I love it. It's really, and you know what's that all about? It's about critical thinking who am I as a friend. It's being willing, as you had just said, to think outside the box. Let's
Hey, Steve, I have a question for you from the audience.
Sure.
It's from, it looks like Rita. She's asking, is this group doing anything in person?
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah, Rita, these discussions were born out of live events that we used to do. And here's the best thing. Our live events were only attended by senior serving professionals, people that worked in the workplace. And when we first started doing these online, they were all senior serving professionals. As you know, when you register, you tell us a little bit about your profile. These discussions are a balanced mix of older adults, their family members, and senior serving professionals. And it's so exciting. I can't wait to get back to live events. More than likely, what we're going to do in the future is we're going to do live events that have an online component, because our the first question that we got today says, I live in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle. Your organization's resources seem to be primarily in the Northeast. Is there a sister organization that supports Pacific Northwest? And what's happened since we've gone online is most of us are in the Mid-Atlantic on this call, but I'll tell you, there's people from all over the world that tune into these discussions. So that's a good one. Joy, how about we move?
Do you mind if I ask Joy a question? This is from the audience, is from Lisa Cook. And she's asking, she says, I'm a great friend to have. I give friends rides to and from the airport to the hospital. While it's easy to go to meetups and meet people, I think it's very hard to find people who want to commit to having others' backs, take care of each other. Mm-hmm. And she says, I've been building community for 11 years. And she wanted to know, how would you go about, creating more consistency within, your group, your own personal groups?
So we don't always like our friends equally, and we don't always trust them equally. We know some people who are consistently late, some people who just make us laugh. We know people who we couldn't call at 2 a.m. And what I would start to do is, instead of being a people collector and being overly nice, is to begin to narrow it down to people, but a good group, like 5 people, not just 1 or 2, because we need a bigger network. But I would begin the process, instead of always being the person who is doing the giving, start asking, because we have to test our relationships and see if somebody will be there for us. You cannot be the giver and expect that people will be there for us. It just doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, we can be really, really nice and people will start to take advantage of that. So I say, please start to do the asking and see what happens. And if that proves to be that those people are not there for you, I would begin the process of widening my net for people. I tend to, me personally, I am a member of a group called the Transition Network, which is here in Chicago, but they are a national women's group for women over 50. And I have made some friends who would be there for me 24/7 and vice versa. But it took time.
Great thoughts, Joy. Let's go back to part 2, because we jumped to part 3. So tell us a little bit about part 2, where you live matters.
Okay, so aging in place is a hot button for everyone, and people may be aging solo in place, not necessarily they're not desiring that lifestyle. However, that is what it is. I have been in the caregiving, like I said, since 1985 to now, and eventually aging in place alone does not work. It just doesn't, and here's why. If you're home alone, there is a shelf life for being able to manage the people who come and go. And then if forgetfulness sets in, the quality of our decisions may not be as good as we think they are. So the scammers might start rolling in. Then we all know there's a caregiver shortage, not to mention the house is falling apart and so on. Aging in place is very doable if there are other people involved as advocates or as roommates or people who are committed to you. And this is really important because all of us keep seeing the universal design element of aging in place. That's like a no-brainer. Put a grab bar in, put your bedroom on the first floor. You're not good to go. That's just design. That is not social, intellectual, spiritual, and otherwise financial.
That's right. Very good.
I love it, and again, you're hitting all the hot buttons for our audience. And Ann Johnson says, "Joy, you're spot on." And there's been a few questions asking, like Robert says, are there solo aging consultants that can help people with regard to community living arrangements or to have a healthcare advocate? And then there's other folks. If everybody looks at chat, you'll see where there are so many different groups like the villages and groups like that can support you, whether you're aging in place or you're feeling like you need to build a circle or what have you. But have you, either of you, sort of stumbled into quote unquote consultants that can help through these types of challenges?
Carol?
I'm sorry, I was responding to someone's question.
Okay, I will be happy to. First of all, that's a great business idea. So whoever suggested that, I was, and I do say this in my book, what we need are consultants / advocates. And the businesses now tend to be for people who are patient advocates. But that's not what I'm talking about. There are aging life care professionals who will tell you how to get to a house or bring in care and all that. But as solo agers who are healthy, what we need are consultants to help us with healthy solo agers and how to find advocacy throughout the rest of our lives. And to me, that's a business. And I bet you there's plenty of professionals on this call who could see the benefit of turning this into a consultancy that has nothing to do with healthcare. And boy, I would sign up in a heartbeat. There are the long-term care insurance people are edging on aligning themselves up with these kinds of services. So in the interim, I would talk to a long-term care insurance person who can act very much like a consultant, and then try to fill in the gaps with people who would be a consultant for, let's say you have a plumbing problem and you're aging alone and you don't want the plumber to come into your house and you're by yourself. Well, that's okay, we'll get somebody over there right away so you're not alone and this person won't scam you. Stuff like that.
And that was kind of when I read that question, I knew the response of the audience, and we unanimously, when we said, are there consultants that help with solo aging life care managers? And, just like attorneys, just like other professions, different aging life care managers have different personalities. They have different areas of specialty. But one thing amongst aging life care managers, they're a very well-connected community. And so if you call one and with a certain question, and that's not their area of specialty, they're very well versed in cross referrals and connecting you to somebody that might help. But what a profession, and that would be great. But
someone said in the chat room that aging doula, which is also a new category that's coming up. So we have the death doula, we have the divorce doula, we have the birth doula, and now we got the aging doula. And I think that's so good. So
I
just,
like that.
yeah, but just remember, it's our responsibility to continuously say, I am healthy. I have all my mental capacities. I just need someone to do X. As we age, we are going to have to help the people who are in the industry to define the kind of help we need, which is really cool. It's just the same as if we were going to a senior living community and we walk in the door and we give a tour of the place and we say, yeah, but this is what I need. Can you give me that? This is what I want. And so we're just going to be pushing the envelope, and we should, because it's our life.
That's right.
Let's don't worry, folks, we're gonna get to all these questions, but let's get to part 4, which is safety nets. And Joy, share some reflections on that part of your book.
My favorite chapter in this one is the early onset Alzheimer's and the value of knowing. So there is going to be, as we know, an enormous, even bigger than ever we thought, population of people who have dementia. Not necessarily Alzheimer's, but enough dementia to be living in the community and trying to negotiate living under those circumstances, living with the symptoms of dementia. So I am very familiar. In fact, I'm working with communities now. Evansville is one of them, where we are talking about creating dementia-friendly communities. I think this is super important. We are going to need to learn how to age together with people who have dementia. And the more we help each other with forgetfulness, the better off we will all be. I see this as a community effort. We got to get the leaders involved, the mayors, you name it. So we've all heard of age-friendly. Now we have to bring it forward to dementia-friendly, and especially dementia-friendly in the workplace.
Absolutely.
Yep. And one of the first dementia-friendly communities is near where I am in the DC area. It's a great movement because if you can educate people in the community how to respectively treat people who have dementia, you're creating an environment where they're going to treat everybody better. It's kind of like universal design. Let's design our spaces so that people with the most challenging disabilities can function, and it's better for everybody. Same thing. So that's great. The comments are coming in fast and furious. Let's jump to the last part of your book, part 5, No Tomorrow, and then we'll just run through these questions until we're done.
Okay, that's awesome. People think that, I just want to focus on hospice. People think that hospice is a guaranteed high level of care. Unfortunately, that's not the case. We have to shop around. The quality of the different hospice programs is night and day. I've seen the worst of it, and I'm sure many of you have seen the best of it. What I would like to see, and again, this is another business that I've made up in my head that I wish would come to reality, but why don't we have places where we can go and learn about death and dying, and then actually, as solo agers, end up in these beautiful, peaceful, well-run places that are exactly what we would want for ourselves. How are we going to do death and dying as solo agers? And so this is just weighs heavily on my mind. I see so many people who have it all written out and they have it on paper, but when push comes to shove, sometimes it just doesn't happen. And in fact, many times it doesn't happen. So the quality of hospice varies, and we need to do more homework. I wish people in the audience would take that on with a vengeance. There is a senior living community in Lincoln, Nebraska that has, it's a life plan community, but it has a separate building on the property. And I can't remember what it is called, but it is the place where people then get transitioned to that building. And it is the most beautiful place I've ever been, and would love to know that I could have that for myself in my last decade or my last days. Why don't we have more of those?
Good point.
And tons of awesome comments on all of these things that you've brought up, Joy, are in the chat. I like this format. How about you?
Yes,
I thought it was a good way to go through your book and how robust it is. And Carol, we'll do the same for you with your new book. But let's get back to some of these questions. And I want to go back to one of the first questions that came in, because from Susan Evans, who says, I'm truly a solo ager, no kids, no family. It is not sad. I live a happy life at age 69. What about appointing trustees? Can one person be a trustee for medical, financial, for medical and financial? And I want you guys to give feedback on this, but also, Susan, I want to direct you to the link, because we had so many legal and financial questions about solo aging. We did a whole talk on it, and I'll make sure to drop that in there for you.
So we have to be careful about choosing individuals rather than a company, because then we get ourselves into, well, what if that person goes and moves away or is unavailable? So I would refer to an attorney's office and see if they can recommend a business, more of a business model, so that you can always count on someone being there, and your paperwork would be handed down. And we can't just do our paperwork and then let it go. We need to look at our paperwork every 6 months. Even if we have named someone to be our power of attorney for health and finances, we need to take a look at that, because perhaps dementia has set in, or they moved away, and so on. So be aware that we have to be very careful about that, and just kind of babysit our paperwork every 6 months.
And another resource that I would like to recommend is the American Bar Association. Mm-hmm. If you go to their website, they have some incredible ebooks or guides, I should say, on how to select healthcare proxies, financial proxies. And they give a wealth of information there at American Bar Association. And I guess that's ambar.org. Steve, maybe, I don't know if you have that available, but nonetheless, you can just Google it, American Bar Association. And then under the menu, look for senior information, or aging information, I think is what it's under.
I got it. I'll drop that into chat.
Oh, good.
Let's see. Nancy from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania says, and this is another good one, many of us cannot afford consulting services or an aging life care manager. I just turned 70. I'm still employed as a social worker, and I live in a seniors low-income high-rise. I'm not sure that I personally would be able to afford this type of service, but it's an excellent concept. And I'd love your thoughts on that, Joy. We talk about affordability an awful lot in our discussions.
I wrote this book with the people like me and everyone who just needs to be aware that money is the expense of aging is astronomical, right? And so I was reading too many books before that were saying, oh, just go get a lawyer, just go get a financial planner. Well, that's not always possible. And like you said, so we begin the process of looking for local resources that are on a volunteer basis. I would start with the aging departments of each city. There are people who give legal advice, financial advice pro bono. and going to the area agencies on aging and finding out where all of those volunteers are. They're also online. And just the important thing is to begin to talk with them. I hear you loud and clear. I know that financing a longer life is going to be a struggle for all of us. It's just amazing. I live in Chicago, and I live in the part of the city where next door is one of the poorest neighborhoods. It was called Caprini Green. But those people who lived in Caprini Green, and I go to church with them, they live a very, very high quality of life because they have done their homework and they have looked at the resources that Chicago has to offer. And they go to the opera for free. They get free taxi cabs. They get free food. They get free medical services because they've ventured out and they've done their homework and research on what is available for people of lower incomes. Also, the Elder Care Locator is another resource for you, which is a national organization. So just type in Elder Care Locator in your browser and boom, so many resources. There's even free dental. So please just let's not let our pride get in front of asking for financial assistance, because it's real.
Mm-hmm. And I also suggest going to your local senior centers and local public libraries, and they can help you do research as well. And if they should be, but they are a community resource for all residents in that particular city, wherever you live. So you could even help, not necessarily work with them, but you could help promote or help them or encourage them to create or help you find resources, the local resources that could help you take care of some of these issues.
Great. Let's see.
Can I just say one thing?
Sure.
In my book, under the financial chapter, which is in the first one, personal readiness, there is a suggestion that you go to your browser and you type in the word free and your city. Right after that, you'll be surprised what pops up. I'm not kidding. It's crazy.
Thank you.
Okay. Carol, feel free to jump in if any of the chat jumps out at you. That's okay. Yes. I've been looking as well. Jenna Jones says, and again, some of these are solo aging specific discussions, but we're all potential solo agers. Absolutely. And she says, any suggestions for the process of relocating to a more affordable place to live? I know I can't afford to continue living and retiring in the DMV. One of the things, Jenna, and then she follows up, it's sad to think of starting over by myself somewhere else. And that's what I was going to comment on, is that you have built a network and friendship and familiarity with the area that you live in. And so the first order of business is to try to tap into resources and getting creative to live within your budget. And Joy, you alluded to it a little bit. Home sharing is a growing trend that minimizes isolation and can save money.
Yeah, I would do everything I could to stay in the network and in the neighborhood before I would move, which will be 10 times worse. And I just get some ideas regarding how to make your lifestyle more affordable before you move. Moving is horrible. We all know that. Yes. And you know what? We were talking about this in one of my book clubs. I do book clubs where we go through my book, and at the end of the book club, we go, okay, where is everybody right now? And so everybody typically says, well, we've got to do something about our community. It's not up to speed. And so this is one of those areas, and don't do this one alone. Gather some people who have the potential to also have the same concerns you do, get together, form a little community, and figure out how to create an affordable aging community before anything else. And you never know. Maybe some of the things you think about haven't even been created yet. Just
Right.
there's so much creativity in this process when you do it early enough.
Yeah, and Steve, I want to mention so that everyone knows that you will download the chat, because there are so many resources here, and we cannot miss out on all these resources.
Oh, this is awesome.
And I also want to suggest to everyone, and Steve, maybe you can make a comment about it. I mean, we have a really great community going on here in the chat. And if we could somehow build off of this, well, we can help each other out.
So one really cool thing in the beginning, I shared with you that we're going to be doing this dementia or memory care resource fair. The other platform we use enables us to kind of sit at tables and talk to each other. And so maybe, Carol, we can experiment on when we talk about your book, maybe we can schedule that next month and try to use the remote platform and have kind of table conversations.
That'd be great.
Now, I noticed there's a bunch of people that raised their hand. We've got N Marks, we've got Jason, and we've got Mary. I'm opening up your microphones. If to the three of those, if you'd like to make a comment, your mics are open. If it was just by mistake, no worries. But if I prompted you to open your mic if you'd like to share something. And then let's see. Let's see here. I'm scanning here to see if there's an interesting. I got to read this one. It's from Sharon, and she says, "Joy, I have your book, and I love how many resources you have to share. I've bookmarked all of them, so that's fantastic."
Thank you.
Okay.
Here's a comment. Do you mind if I mention this one? This one's from Bonnie Silverman. Now, Bonnie, I think this is very interesting. You're asking a question: does anyone know of or live in a high-rise apartment condominium that has formed a caregiving group? And you'd love to hear about this.
I can answer that.
Oh, perfect.
Do you live in a high-rise, Carol? I didn't mean to cut you off.
I do. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you first.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll interject.
Oh, Bonnie wants to speak. I would love to hear that.
Oh, yeah. Here, let's. Okay, Bonnie, I opened up your mic.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, great. Well, I've been interested in aging even before I started to feel I was aging, because I've been in the insurance business for over 30 years, and at one time I specialized solely in long-term care insurance, and then I broadened it, narrowed it, kind of depending on the interest level at a given time. And I've gone through dementia with my mother and been not her direct caregiver, but her advocate and being there, for her in many, many ways for 10 years. And some of it was long distance when she was in Florida. Okay, so I do live in a large condominium in the center of Philadelphia. We have hospitals. We have two major teaching hospitals. So we have a lot of medical care available. Jane Ailey, I know, is on the call, and she's the director of Penn's Village, and they provide resources. But I'm thinking that the community that I live in, we have probably, 600 or more units. is somewhat divided between the over 60s and then the younger people who have no interest in coming to holiday parties. I mean, they basically don't show up for too much. But the older community would be a more interested community in possibly forming some kind of network, and I don't know what. I mean, this is all kind of bubbling around. So that's kind of the background. And just wondering what Joy and Carol, I think you both said that you live in high-rise communities.
I do. And Joy, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and at least tell you my story, Bonnie. I've been in this high-rise for 5 years, and it all came out of my own planning to put myself in a place where I have neighbors and friends right outside my door, because I was living in the suburbs and I felt terribly isolated and alone. And thank goodness I moved to, especially during the pandemic, because I was never alone. So it took us some time. However, when I first arrived, we created, through another resident who was very, very friendly. She's a realtor, so that helps. Anyway, she and I created a social club, basically. And we started meeting once a month. And people, we either did, happy hours, or we did just games or what have you. But out of that experience, we have, built and created some really close relationships. And so my experience is don't give up, and constantly reach out to people, be friendly, just talk about some of the ideas you have. And just form relationships and never give up. And because it took me 2 years for people to become friendly with me. I'm talking about residents that have lived here for a long time. And at first I thought, well, why aren't people more open? Well, it doesn't matter. After 2 years now, we're all just so friendly with each other, which is really wonderful. So just give it time. Start talking about some of the ideas, and start talking with residents in the hallways, downstairs, wherever you are. We have a coffee room downstairs, so that helps us, have a place where we can meet socially. So I'm not sure what your building might look like, but I just want to encourage you to continue to reach out with residents, with neighbors, and just be as friendly as you can, and don't give up.
And
thank you.
Before you jump off, Bonnie, somebody wanted to know the name of the community in Philadelphia that you referenced.
Oh, where I live?
Yeah.
Yeah, I live in the Hopkinson House.
Okay, great.
It's in Society Hill on Washington Square, right across the street from a park. I walk into the park. I usually see at least a half a dozen neighbors.
So, we're going to go down a rabbit hole here that we could devote a whole hour to, but I'm going to bring it up anyways, because I think, Joy, you and I were talking about this, the value of living in an urban environment as you grow older. If you don't need a car, you're amongst people of all ages. The challenge, or there's lots of challenges to everything, but if you've grown up in the white picket fence, car dependent, tree lined suburbs, it might be intimidating to go to an urban environment. But Joy, I think you've got some thoughts and ideas on that. And thank you, Bonnie. I'm going to mute you.
I just want to say that I've been living here for 33 years. So, and I am a friendly person, but I do find that people still have their own kind of little groups, and not necessarily, it isn't necessarily as social as one would think. Even though people know my name and we say hello, and then kind of people go off in different directions.
Sometimes, Bonnie, during the holidays or during special events, if you volunteer on some of the things that they need, even if they need help, I'm finding that that is a good way to just be with like-minded people who like to volunteer. It takes time, like Carol said. So what happens is it isn't just, hey, you want to have dinner. It's really just trying to get in with some of the activities that get on the activity committee of something and begin the process there.
Yeah.
That's the only way in a high rise, because you have people that won't even look at you in the elevator, and then there's other people who just like they won't shut up. So
Yeah.
so you'll. But I have found that getting on the committees is the best place to start.
Yeah, I've run the Hanukkah party the last few years, which of course we haven't had. So hopefully this year, and also there's the pool. But I think your suggestion about talking to people about this idea, which I just got, while we're on this great conversation about kind of not necessarily formalizing, but maybe working toward a kind of a soft kind of a group, that people can kind of come and go as they please, but to know that there are people that will be there for them, even though they may not be close friends, they just know each other just by sight, and just kind of enlarging the circle. So I think that's great.
One of the things that I did is I slipped, if I saw somebody coming in and out of the apartment on my floor, only on my floor, I would go up to them and say, hey, I just wanted you to know I live at the corner. My name's Joy, and blah, blah, blah. So at least I know the people on my floor.
Good. Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
Thanks. Great to hear from you.
Awesome. Thanks, Bonnie. Wow. I just looked at the clock. It's past 1 o'clock. I think we got through most of the formal questions. Chat's blowing up, so
really
it's hard for me to even go through and look at those.
We need a get together.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, but this is, but once again, I mean, I'm just so grateful to have stumbled into this topic, because it's so interesting and engaging and positive, and it brings together like-minded people. I mean, it's like, I hope everybody in the audience and the two of you feel the positive energy that I'm feeling. I feel like these conversations make a difference in all of our futures. And so I'm really grateful. I'm gonna upload this recording immediately.
Good.
I'll also make sure that I upload it as a podcast, so you can easily share it with people, and they can walk their dog and listen to it. And then Carol, let's get you scheduled next month. And Joy, I hope you come back when we try to do this discussion with the in the Remo format. I think it'd be a really great way to talk about solo aging. Just so somebody just said, how do we download the chat? And it's don't worry about that. It's going to be on the recording link that I'm going to be posting at Pro Aging this afternoon.
Great.
And one other little controversial thing in chat that really goes to show how much we've expanded. Several of us have said DMV on this discussion. DMV stands for DC, Maryland, and Virginia, not Division of Motor Vehicles. The origin of this group was based in the DMV, and we sort of throw it around, but we got to stop using that, because now we've got this global audience. Anyways, that's a fun little thing that we've got to learn now that our wings have expanded so much. Joy, you are absolutely amazing. I'm still kind of stuck back in the critical thinking and how you describe that, and how important that is when thinking about anything aging related, is to just talk to people. Don't be afraid to expand your field of vision, and in doing that, you're going to make friends. You're going to make new friends. True. You're going to make connections.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the cultural aspect of that, right? So other cultures don't have the problems Americans do. I have an Italian citizenship, and I have a whole different way of doing living and aging because of my Italian ancestry. So it's like you never know what you're going to learn. Just talk to people you would never talk to, and you will have a wealth of information, and like Steve said, maybe new friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Carol, congrats on the new book, Solo and Smart. I'm putting that link in as well. And I look forward to, this is just the beginning. You're gonna see these two folks a lot here through our platform because they're wonderful, and this is a very important topic. So I can't wait till the next discussion. Thanks, Carol, and thanks, Joy, for such an engaging discussion.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve. Thank you
And
all for
thanks
joining
to the
us.
audience. You
Thank you,
guys are
everybody.
what make these discussions. I mean,
Yeah.
what amazing questions and comments.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
You bet.
People may be exiting, but I just wanted to make one quick remark.
Sure.
When Bonnie and Joy, when you were talking, I was going to say, when Joy said, especially on your own floor in a high rise or an apartment building or wherever, get to know your neighbors. And this was not my idea. This is one of my neighbors who she is just a delight. And she's a solo person. Anyway, what she does, and she's really encouraged all our neighbors to have like a really small open house, in our own apartments. Just come over, have a cup of coffee, glass of wine, what have you. I mean, not to stay real long, but just to come in and introduce yourself and get to know each other just for a few minutes. And that way you start building relationships just like that.
And, the ideas like that, a lot of times I'll be in a conversation where somebody will throw out an idea like that, and there'll inevitably be somebody in that circle that says, oh, that's not for me. I wouldn't open my doors. I wouldn't go to anything like that.
It's okay.
That's the beauty of it, is that the people that are going to come are going to be the people that you can connect with, and it's a self-selecting type thing, but it takes a person to extend the olive branch to make that connection. And so great suggestion. I really want to get this urban retirement discussion going. So we'll start building a panel on that one.
Oh, it sounds great, doesn't it?
See everybody at the next one.